Hello, BookTube. I have a sort of a Wednesday reads for you. I want to show you some new books. Some of them we may have seen on this channel before, but I want to talk about them just a bit with you. And this could count as a TBR torture because out of these 6 books, there are 4 that I've already read, and I recommend all 4 of them for your poor horrible TBRs. And the first one is one of my highest recommendations. This is terrific. I think we saw the advanced copy of this, but I want to recommend it to you anyway, now that it's out in finished copy, or actually September 17th. It comes out next week. But this is by Mike Pearl, and it is The Day It Finally Happens. The subtitle is Alien Contact, Dinosaur Parks, Immortal Humans, and Other Possible Phenomenon. And that's all that this is, told in really engaging prose style. This is about all the different things that are on our horizon. The author handicaps how likely they are, tells you how serious they are, and then talks about them a bit. And in almost every instance, he starts off the chapter with some sort of dramatic presentation. Before he starts talking in nonfiction terms, he will give you a little scene about what it would be like if the last fish, the day it finally happens, the day the last fish is harvested from the ocean, the day the ocean becomes officially empty of fish, or the day when antibiotics stop working. You have big, marquee type stuff like the day a meteor hits, or the day aliens invade, or the day we exchange a full-scale nuclear war, and what that would be like. But there are also all sorts of other things too. The day that the last gun is manufactured. The day when, as the subtitle suggested, humans become immortal. And there's a neat effort to balance these things. There's a neat effort in the case of things where you would read the headline of the chapter and you would think, well, if the day that happens will be a purely happy day. The author takes pains to point out that it's more complex than you think, and that some of the things that look like pure positives will have drastic negative side effects. And some of these things will be familiar to those of you who read books like this. I myself love books like this, even though in the last few years I have loved them a little bit less, because in one very real, undeniable sense, these are all Trump books, and that gets a little tiresome. but I love them anyway, because intelligent speculation like this is just so much fun. I first developed a taste for them with The World Without Us, which became a bestseller, in which the author posits what would happen if human beings disappeared instantly. No lingering, just all of them gone in one instant. What would happen that day? What would happen in a week? What would happen in a month? What would happen in 10 years or 100 years? This is very much akin to that, and I thought it was fantastic. Just fantastic. I don't know if you can make it out here. Every chapter starts off with a Gustave Doré engraving, and also the breakdown right here. The breakdown is very succinct. Likely in this century, possibility rating, scary, and worth changing your habits. And like, for instance, in the chapter, what would happen if the internet went down completely? Under scary, the author comes right out and says, it doesn't get any scarier than this. And same thing with nuclear war. Tremendously enjoyable. So that, I want to start with that. And this next one is also, I can technically say that I've already read it. We've seen these kind of technicalities before, though. I haven't read this volume, and I therefore haven't had the experience of reading either the introduction or what it's like to read these works together. This is Peter Carey, the Australian writer Peter Carey, and he is the latest, somewhat odd, I wouldn't have seen it coming, entry in the Everyman's Library. This is a new volume. I don't know what the date is on this. I don't think I have a pub date sheet on this. Oh wait, I do. I have a little sheet. Early September, so this is out already. And this is Oscar and Lucinda and the True History of the Kelly Gang. So his 2 Booker Prize winning books and 2 of his historical fiction, pieces of historical fiction. And I know this author has lots of diehard fans. I've never been one of them. I've never loved him the way his fans do. And it's never been a case of course, on this channel, you've seen many times, there are many authors, so I've never loved the way their fans do. And I'm not breaking a sweat about that or crying into my martini. But with some authors, a handful of authors, I say that I've never liked them as much as their fans do, and you won't hear that obnoxious tone in my voice, because I've never been sure, even from the beginning, that isn't me. And he's one of those authors. He's one of them where I am glad that I have a chance to go at his work. This also underscores the point that I make on this channel all the time, which is that I do not need to go to used bookstores. I really don't. I love to do it. You come to Boston, I'll go to a used bookstore with you. If I go away, if I go on vacation, the first question I have is, where are the used bookstores and what are they like? But it's an extravagance only. Older books come to me with the same kind of frequency as newer books. So, but I think this is going to be fun to dig into this. I'll read the introduction and I will reread the books and see if maybe this is, the book god's way of telling me now is the time. This next one was working translation, tiny little thing. Took me 20 minutes to read, took me 20 minutes to reread, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. This is, I'm going to massacre his name because it's French. It's Marc Augé. This is In Praise of the Bicycle. Tiny little thing. Which starts out, I mean, the idea of it, the organizing conceit of it, is how nice bicycles are, how ruminative they are, and how much of a very healthy change they are from cars or buses or subways. But it ends up being more than that. It ends up being, in a very light but very touching way, a hymn of praise to French culture and to, just humanitarian values in general. It's one of these weird little in praise of or a eulogy to books. Oftentimes they will try to sort of to establish their universalist credentials, and usually they fall flat when they do that, just flat as could be. I've seen that happen with books about bowling or wine or you name it. But this one actually succeeds in making a broader case in praise of the bicycle. So again, you're going to see it in your bookstores. It's probably not that much money. It should be $10, but it's probably twice that. Oh no, it's $14 in paperback. And if you're an ardent bicyclist, I used to be an ardent bicyclist, to put it mildly, you're going to love this. And then the last one that I have read, this is an author that I now never miss. And I didn't get an advance copy of this, I don't think. We saw it on this channel. It sort of came as a surprise to me. I think it comes out on the 1st of October. Yes, it comes out on the 1st of October. And this is by Serhii Plokhy, who is a writer who lives he works at Harvard University. He's done a whole bunch of books that I really like. He just recently did one on Chernobyl. He's done a few others that I never miss a book of his because he's so enjoyable. And this one is a somewhat lamentable title, The Forgotten Bastards of the Eastern Front. American Airmen Behind Soviet Lines and the Collapse of the Grand Alliance. So I would have titled it something different, but in fact, I know what I would have titled it because one of the operations in here is called Operation Frantic. There are two main military operations, American military operations in here, Operation Frantic and Operation Baseball. And I would have called it Operation Frantic. That's a perfect title. Operation Baseball is also a much better title than this. But this is the story of the one and only time that U.S. servicemen and Soviet Union soldiers fought literally side by side in World War II. When the idea of placing American air bases on Soviet territory was broached at the summit of the Big Three, Churchill, Stalin, and Roosevelt, convened in Tehran in November of 1943, Stalin balked. Though aligned with the West in the fight against the Nazis and pushing hard for the British and Americans to establish a second front, Stalin was suspicious to the point of paranoia of Westerners, whom he viewed as spies and counter-revolutionaries. Despite this, and believing they could break through the facade of Soviet intransigence and strengthen the Grand Alliance, Western strategists and diplomats continued to push the idea. Putting American planes and soldiers in the Soviet Union would create a second air front, permitting more effective bombing operations than those being conducted from Great Britain or Italy. In the end, Stalin relented, and 3 U.S. strategic Air Force bases were founded in the Poltava region of what is today Ukraine in April of 1944. And I'm pretty sure, certainly this is Oxford University Press, for a major popular publishing arm, I'm pretty sure this is the first time this story's ever been told. And I know this author will do a good job. And I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. It's full of personalities. He loves that sort of thing. It's full of poignance, but also when he describes action, that's really well done. So this is yet another example of something we have ended up seeing in 2019, an enormous amount, which is keyhole histories of World War II, where an author zeroes in on a little thing, a forgotten footnote in the broader history. I can't help but notice that all of this absolute flood of keyhole histories has come in the absence of galumphing large narrative histories. We have had almost none of those. So if you are a World War II junkie, as I am, or if you have, that steadily growing shelf of interesting keyhole histories, as I do, you shouldn't miss this author anyway, no matter what he writes about. He's fantastic. I will try to remember to leave a review, to leave links to any reviews that I've done of his books, but I think I've reviewed him at least a couple of times, and he never disappoints. And those are the 4 for this Wednesday reads that I have already read. And then we'll do 2 that I have yet to read. I will be reading them today. The first one is Ruta Supetis. This is The Fountains of Silence. Look at how lovely that is. Look at the artistic choice with this cover was to saturate it all in gold, except for this right here. And that is a wise choice. That is so eye-catching. And I had, I think, an advanced copy of this and just accidentally got rid of it or sent it away. I looked, and I don't think I have it now. But this is another historical novel. Another trend we've seen in 2019 is just a swamp of high-profile, mainstream publishing historical novels. This is set in Madrid in 1957. Under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco, Spain is hiding a dark secret. Meanwhile, tourists and foreign businessmen flood into Spain under the welcoming promise of sunshine and wine. Among them is 18-year-old Daniel Matheson, the son of an oil tycoon who arrives in Madrid with his parents, hoping to connect with the country his mother's birth through the lens of his camera. Photography and fate introduce him to Anna, whose family's interweaving obstacles reveal the lingering grasp of the Spanish Civil War, as well as chilling definitions of fortune and fear. And it sounds like it's going to be a historical novel that shows you a glimpse of Franco's Spain through that love affair, through that connection between those two characters. I'm all for it, and it sort of bugged me when I got this thing, because this is due soon, right? This is October 1st, I think. Yeah, this is another October 1st book, and here I am getting the finished copy without any warning. I don't think I've had any warning. If I don't remember it, and I think I would have. And then the last thing we'll deal with today, the second thing that I have not read yet, is this. It's by Mark McTeague, and it's called Fly. And it is a wordless children's book. There are no words to read to your children. You just take them through the pages, through the pictures. And it's all about an impatient mama bird who is just eagerly waiting for her baby bird to figure out how to fly so that they can head south. So that, so that baby bird can join mother bird. And so the baby bird is not, see, they want to go to Florida. The baby bird is thinking he'll just pedal there. And also so that baby bird won't be vulnerable to cats or any owls or anything like that. And that's all it is. It's a story of a bird learning to fly. And it's not going to take me more than a few minutes to read, and I'm going to enjoy it. I know I am. So there you go. That is a Wednesday read. We have a kid's book, Fly. We have The Fountains of Silence, historical novel. We have The Forgotten Bastards of the Eastern Front, Soviet history, American Soviet history, In Praise of the Bicycle, tiny little hymn of praise to bicycles and the world you see when you ride them. Then The New Everyman's Library, 2 Peter Carey novels. And finally, The Day It Finally Happens. A doomsday book, but really fun. A doomsday book that's enjoyable and that gives you all sorts of doomsday scenarios you might not have thought about. So that's going to wrap it up for now. But there's probably other bookish stuff we can talk about today, so I'll probably be back. Thank you, BookTube.